Hey, welcome to an LA Life podcast. Today is Wednesday, January 24th. Things are warming up in our area. A lot of rain, a lot of mess out there, but that's what's going on for us. Don't know what it looks like for you, wherever you're at. But hopefully today, I say it all the time, but hopefully today can be a good day for you. We get together every week like this on a Wednesday, and we try to give you just a little something to think about, something that can maybe carry you through the rest of the week until you get to a Sunday. I would encourage you to share these type of things with others. You know your people better than what I do. And so if there's something that they need to hear, pass it along, encourage them in some way, shape, or form. So today, I want to just share a little bit. I'm going to be in the Old Testament, in the book of Job, here in just a few minutes. But, you know, over the course of a year, I participate in 15, 20, sometimes more funerals a year. And I talk about funerals actually kind of quite a bit on this podcast. I know that, but it always comes back to causes me to think through some things. Now, of those funerals, some of those I lead and some of them I just participate in. But here's the thing that I notice about funerals. There's a few things that I notice. One, the family of the deceased person, they all act differently, and it's not right or wrongs. Some of them are quiet when you go to a funeral setting. Some are loud, and some are even removed. They don't want to be out there around the casket. They don't want to be around people. And there's not a right or wrong way. And I think we act those ways sometimes just maybe to get over our nervousness, some of the struggles that we have. But here's the other thing that I notice. When people show up to a funeral, almost always they come with somebody else. And I was a part of a funeral this last week, and I saw this happen. Several people came in together. They had worked with, they knew some of the family, they had knew the deceased, and yet they came in these large groups of 2, 3, 4, 5 people to show support for them. Now, I don't know if they all rode together, if they waited in the parking lot to come in, but I see that a lot at funerals, is groups will come in to love on people. And then the other thing that I notice about funerals that I think is important for you and I to remember is when we go visit someone at a funeral, they often don't remember anything we say, but they remember that we were there, that our presence, that we were a part, that we supported them in that way. So having said that, let me get to the book of Job, and let me just remind you of Job. Job ends up and he loses livestock, servants, and family. Some things are stolen from him. Servants are killed. His sons and daughters are killed by this windstorm, knocks the house down. And so he had great loss. We also know that in chapter 2 of Job, that he ends up with these, scripture says, loathsome sores from his head to his toe. But here's what I want you to pick up today. And let me read these verses to you. This is Job chapter 2, 11, 12, and 13. Now, when Job's 3 friends heard all of this evil that had come upon him, and so then it lists the 3 friends. Listen to what it says. They made an appointment together to come to show him sympathy and comfort. And when they saw him from a distance, they did not recognize him. And they raised their voices and wept, and they tore their robes and sprinkled dust on their heads toward heaven. And they sat with him on the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and no one spoke a word to him, for they saw that his suffering was very great. You know, there's 3 things here that we see his friends did. The first thing that it says is that they made an appointment to come together. Now, we have to remember they didn't have cell phones, and so they couldn't call or text each other. There wasn't newspapers at that time, so the news would have traveled, even if it traveled quickly, it would have taken some time for those guys to hear that news. Once they heard the news of their friend Job, they then make an appointment. So they now are going to write, a scribe, send it off with a messenger, one to another. And so they figured out how to get an appointment. Hey, this is the day, this is the time that we can all come together and go show support to Job. I think that's one thing that you and I should remember. Number 2, it tells us in verse 12 that they noticed his pain. Before they even got close to him, they couldn't recognize him because of all the sores, I'm sure the grief and the mourning that he was going through. And it says that they felt his pain, and so they started to weep. They also did signs of mourning. Back in those times. They would tear clothes, they would throw dust up onto their heads. And so they participated with Job in his mourning and his grieving. And then finally, the third thing that we see in verse 13 is that once they showed up with Job, they sat down with him for 7 days. No one said a word. Because in Bible times, and I think it's true today as well, it would be rude of us to speak before the sufferer spoke first. And so these three friends sat down with their friend and said nothing. You know, I think there are some basic takeaways that we can learn from this. Number one, when we have a friend who's hurting, struggling, suffering, maybe they've gone through death, and you're asking yourself, should I go see them? Here's my answer. Yes, you should go see them, right? Just like we see here, they made an appointment, they showed up, they got there, they were there to support him. And so as you're sitting there thinking, well, I know somebody who's going through something, this, that, or whatever, go see them, reach out to them, right? Remember what Proverbs 17:17 says. It says, a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for a time of adversity. That's the first thing. The second thing is this: if you can do it, take other friends with you, right? And it's much easier for us to call, to text and say, hey, did you hear, did you know that our friend is struggling? Let's get together and go see them, right? So you don't have to go alone. You can take somebody else with you. And then finally, the third thing is this: when you show up to see a friend, again, who's struggling, hurting, mourning, don't say anything. I think we often speak because we're nervous. And I hear this a lot in the funeral setting because I'm there, and people will wait in line, they get up towards the loved one, and then they just start speaking and saying stuff because we're nervous. We feel like we should say something, and often we say something dumb. It's not intentionally dumbness, but if we just say something dumb because we're nervous. You know, the best thing we can do, and we learn this from Job's three friends, is just be there, right? Just be present. Hug them. Let the person struggling speak first. Maybe we say something, maybe we don't. But at the end of the day, we just show up, we love on them, we care for them, we hug them, we support them, we're present in their life, and we walk with them as they go through their struggles. So there you go, kind of a midweek teaching. I'm sure somebody out there has a friend who's going through a struggle. Can I just remind you to go be with them, go love on them, go care for them. Make an appointment with your friends, get them, travel together, 2 or 3 of you, go love on them. And when you get there, don't feel like you have to say anything. Just be present in their life. Well, there you go. Hopefully something in there makes some sense for you, and you'll share that with others. So there it is. Hope to see you this weekend. We're going to be here 9 o'clock, 10:30. Love to have you guys show up as we continue through the book of 1 Corinthians. Love you guys. Have a great day.